This is H.D. Ingles. If you remember, in the previous episode, Irish and I went to New Orleans, and we had to pay the waiter at Pat O'Brien's $2 to find us a table. It was a pretty good table. Let me tell you about it. It was a pretty good table. That's mainly because sitting at the next table there were these two babes. These two were definitely not little girls. I had become right sensitive on that issue, but that's another story. These two babes had 10 or 15 years on us, but not being the type of guy who believes in age discrimination, I struck up a conversation with them. It was sort of loud in the place, and before you knew it, the two babes had asked us to sit at their table. The waiter wouldn't give us our $2 back. Anyway, I don't know how much time passed, but after a while, the four of us decided to leave. The girls were from Mobile and wanted to have a good time in New Orleans over the weekend. I certainly didn't want to be accused of keeping them from having a good time. The babe I had latched onto tossed me her car keys, and away we went. We stopped at some quieter joint, not in the quarter, and the girls excused themselves. They mumbled something about nose powdering. When the babes returned to the table, there was a great look of relief on both their faces. One of them said, "We were in there talking, and it suddenly hit me that we had left our car keys with two men who we barely knew." Irish and I made about as much out of that one as we could come up with. I've always figured that if you get caught being honest, you should make the most of it. We went to a couple more places for a drink or two. Then came the tricky part. Irish and I had cleverly decided to save money by drinking all night. In short, we didn't have a place to stay. On the other hand, these two babes had a nice, comfortable, air-conditioned motel room. About that time, one of them said, "We'll take you to our motel and you can get a room there." That wasn't exactly what I had in mind. "We could save some money if we used your room." "Not on your life. We hardly know you two. Besides, we don't do things like that." I figured they just needed a little shove. "What? I'm really hurt. We're old buddies now, especially after I drove you all around town. In my car. But I didn't steal it. Thanks. So we can go to your room?" "No, get a room." Now I figured they just needed sort of a moderate shove. So I cleverly said, "Look at it this way. You have two big beds, and there's only one of you for each of those big beds. It just doesn't seem right. With Irish and me in there, you wouldn't be so lonely. You don't want to be lonely on your first night in New Orleans, do you? Look at it this way. Get a room." This was getting to be bad business. Those two were serious about the other room bit. Damn, a motel room would seriously cut into our available cash supply. And it had crossed my mind that it would be a sort of nice to wake up and see something staring at me in the face who looked a hell of a lot better than Irish. Damn women anyway. They just wouldn't give in. Even with my brains and Irish's silver tongue, they wouldn't give in. We drove around to the damn office to get a damned room. I was quite relieved to learn that the motel was full. I was further relieved when the clerk told me that being the Labor Day weekend, I had about a 0 chance of getting a room anywhere. When I got back in the car, I was all smiles. "No rooms anywhere, so I reckon we'll have to bunk in with you all now." "Why don't you sleep in the car?" "No, not that. I hate to sleep in cars. It's uncivilized." "I guess you'll just have to be uncivilized. You can't sleep with us." I started getting desperate. I hate to sleep in damned cars. I decided to sort of tap dance a little. "Darling, I reckon I made a bad choice of words a few minutes ago. Neither Irish nor I had any intention of bothering you two. It never even crossed our minds. I'm just not much good with words. What I meant to say was that Irish and I could sleep in one bed and you two in the other. After they finished laughing, one of them responded, "No. I can't sleep in a car. I won't rest at all. Please, please let us in the room. I hate it when I have to plead and beg. Sleep in the car." That's the end of that exciting episode. Tune in next time to see what happens. Will that poor, innocent, guileless lad have to sleep in the car? I can hardly wait to find out. This is H.D. Ingles. Thank you for listening.